Hi, this is Fernando Hernandez, student of Washington State University Executive MBA program. This presentation is for educational purposes only, related course material for MIS 580. The intent of this presentation is to provide you some information behind why IT does matter in today's world, and a rebuttal to Nicholas G. Carr's article from the Harvard Business Review of why IT doesn't matter. First of all, it's quite obvious why IT does matter by the use of this presentation and the technology used in the EMBA program at Washington State University. However, I will be a little bit more specific in relation to Carr's article and try to rebuttal the statements made through this article. Just to provide some additional background on Nicholas G. Carr, he is a Pulitzer Prize nominee for his various books, articles, and other writings on the relevance of information technology and in relation to today's business environment across the globe. In reference to Carr's article from the Harvard Business Review of IT Doesn't Matter, he has made several points in regards to competitive advantage and the widespread use of common information technology infrastructures that has made business and IT watered down because of the widespread of its use and the availability of it from business to business. Carr also argues that management must be bored and must now look at the cost of IT and its infrastructure relevance to the actual business. I would argue that C-level executives today look at IT as a part of doing business to improve its efficiency, although the wow factor may no longer be there. This is because information technology is more relevant today than has been in the past. The wow factor may no longer be there as it once was, like a new shiny toy, but rather as an integral part of today's business. This is also true because of the expectations are now different than they once were, which are actually much higher. C-level executives now have to weigh in their expectations and cost of information technology to the return on their investments. This is due to thriving technologies that are being developed, which expectations from C-level executives are to improve the business versus just being part of the business. I do agree with Carr that IT is now a part of doing business, but it's what you use, how you use it, and what it does for your business that helps drive success. Regardless of the so-called common infrastructure that Carr claims is so far spread and easily accessible. Speaking of accessibility, just because it's common and its ease of access to it doesn't make it more effective. Just as human capital is, certain individuals have more talent than others, therefore cost more. The C-level executives need to identify what they are willing to pay for that will provide a higher return on their investment. Another argument that Carr makes is that information technology is so common that it's like a commodity business, similar to energy or even the railroad. I would say that this is not an equal or apples to apples comparison, considering the railroad business has been around for over 100 years, and the information technology environment didn't really begin until the mid 1960s and really starting to make significant strides during the 80s, 90s, and even today. Even though the railroad industry connected people and products from one end of a country to another with limited barriers due to the landscape, it is nothing compared to how the World Wide Web has connected people in regards to information across the entire globe. Recently, I watched a major news corporation who had the New York Times internet content editor on their show. Their R&D division tracked the speed of information from one end of the world to another. They mentioned, the New York Times, that at the time of Michael Jackson's death, the world knew of it in a matter of 3 minutes. This was done through online news media and other social network platforms that are being used today. Let's think about that. 3 minutes for the entire world to know that information. I find the comparison of the energy and the railroad commodity to information technology far-fetched. Furthermore, I believe the impact of IT in regards to connecting the world is far greater than the railroad industry. In addition, the evolution of information technology seems to be limitless at this time. In the past 30 years, the information technology industry has jumped leaps and bounds compared to other industries. I would argue that Carr needs to review and compare information technology in the railroad industry from a maturity model or stage. I also do not believe the information technology business model yet to be as stable as Carr has pointed out. This is because of the vast amount of software, hardware, middleware, and other technology structures. One cannot determine that the IT industry has matured. I believe at this time it may be going through a valley before it starts to spike again. Carr also argues that information technology is so common that it no longer drives a competitive advantage for businesses. I will disagree with that. I believe that as a result of information technology, it actually drives greater competition. Let's take a look at one example. On the far right, you will see the Apple iPod, which most everyone is familiar with, and to the left of that, the Microsoft Zune. Through the use of information technology, Apple was first to market with the iPod. Shortly thereafter, Microsoft came out with its competitor, the Zune. Even though the purposes are the same, to listen to the music, the technology for each is quite different, not in the music file application, but rather in the availability for its intended users and the interface for its intended users. Another example includes a case study named Harrah's High Payoff from Customer Information. In the mid-90s, Harrah's developed a business strategy to have one single view of their customers from their many site or locations. They wanted to have an integrated data warehouse that would provide them opportunities to view their customers' expenses, expectations, and demands. As a result of understanding their customer better, they were able to compete on data analytics to provide greater returns for their casinos while having more satisfied customers. Although data warehouses are common and accessible for many large corporations, the opportunity and business strategy that was undertaken by Harrah's made them successful, which gets to my next point. Carr also underestimated the power of innovation and people as a core component that defines information technology. My last point has to do with the so-called common infrastructure platforms. According to the response letter by Paul Strassman of Carr's article, who is the executive advisor to NASA, former CIO of General Foods, Kraft, Xerox, the Department of Defense, and NASA, to Carr's Harvard Business Review article, states that Carr's assertion to business no longer having a competitive advantage, quote, can be contradicted by anyone who has had experience with one-code-fits-all enterprise software suites that claim to deliver answers to most business systems and problems. Even the most tightly controlled generic application suites such as SAP, enterprise resource planning applications, can deliver completely different results for like firms. For routine business processes, generic applications can be useful in reducing the total cost of ownership for computer systems, but such applications have been known to destroy firms that have attempted to squeeze unique processes into generic molds. End quote. Again, CAR's lack of the people culture that influence information technology seems to define and rebuttal his argument on the accessibility of so-called common platforms and ease of accessibility. So does IT matter? Absolutely. It's in every part of your day, from the alarm clock you use on your smartphone to the communication and transactions you make on a daily basis. It's all around us, and it's all around us, and the world is far more connected than even before. From a business standpoint, I think we are not even halfway in its maturity stage. I only see greater possibilities.